and the concern with the yoga, and we should adopt that in our day-to-day practice. Yoga aims to help us become aware of what is happening inside our body and how we feel and think. By increasing self-awareness, we can make better decisions and take actions that benefit ourselves and others. So that is the power of yoga. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in his yoga message for this year, quoted that this year's theme reminds everyone how yoga is truly universal. And India has taken a lead in that. We are very proud and thankful to our Honorable Prime Minister, Sir, in taking yoga to all across the country. On how yoga has helped people during the COVID-19 pandemic, he further added that for hundreds of millions of people worldwide, yoga has also been an essential lifeline during the pandemic, providing an important means of coping with the challenges of social isolation and stress. And that's quite true, friends. All of us have felt it. We all know that International Yoga Day was started on June 21st, 2015, with the great efforts of our Honorable Prime Minister, Sir. And I must tell here that in the same year, DST take this opportunity and started a dedicated program, Science and Technology of Yoga and Meditation, which is acronym as Satyam, which is aiming to address various challenges related to physical and mental health through various interventions of yoga. And I'm very happy to say that we have received very good response from the stakeholders, and also more than 40 publications have brought out, which is proving the importance of yoga in for the human well-being. Satyam program has countrywide presence. Several institutions and research centers of national importance are partnering associated with this program. And it is evident from the studies conducted on the Satyam program that yoga not only plays a very important role and add-on therapy in treatment of various physical and mental ailments, but also maintain well-being and improving quality of life in healthy population. So I would like to say that when you listen to yourself, everything comes naturally. It comes from inside, like a kind of will to do something, then it's yoga. So I just want to end by saying that yoga se hi hoga. So let us all take a pledge today that we are going to have yoga throughout with us. And on behalf of Secretary and Secretary DST, I again welcome all the participants in the journey towards healthy mind and healthy body through yoga. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shubham.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now like to invite Secretary Sir, Department of Science and Technology, for giving the opening remarks. Sir.
Thanks, Subham. Thanks, Nisha. Hope I'm audible, Nisha.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Very
you're
good.
audible.
Good, thank you. Greetings to our speaker today, Professor Vivek Kumar Sharma ji. Thank you so much for sparing your time from your busy day at the Institute of Medical Sciences, Rajkot. Thank you so much that you are going to be with us for the next 1 hour to tell us on the yogic lifestyle, the scientific tool for conscious living. When Nisha was making comments on the conscious living, it has been our own experience. Whenever our living is conscious, we are always healthy. And whenever we lead an unconscious living, then I think our health starts deteriorating. As again mentioned by Nisha, this has been a good friend for all of us. Yoga has been a good friend to all of us during the pandemic, which allowed families to at least do some physical work together, some meditation together, and keeping away from depression and the psychological distress. In my own personal experience, when we look at yoga as the way of living, and also as aptly this year has been called yoga for humanity, as your mind is quiet and calm, I'm certainly sure that we don't react nor we give knee-jerk reactions in our day-to-day life, and that makes this world a peaceful world. Certainly, yoga tells us that the reactions have to be subtle and also to be user-friendly. I'm happy that DST has been taking initiative not only by conducting yoga day every year, but also encouraging our own staff, family members to continuously practice yoga at their home. The program Satyam, which DST has launched in 2015, Science and Technology of Yoga and Meditation, has been funding so that people who need the rational, many a times scientists expect that there should be rational, and I want to see a scientific evidence whether yoga has real impact on my life or not. And Satyam has been funding researchers not only in very important hospitals like AIIMS, but many other researchers who are trying to understand the effects of uh, uh, effect on the health of human beings, those who are not practicing yoga or practicing yoga, and also same individuals, their physical parameters before yoga and after yoga. I'm sure these kind of scientific evidences will also inspire and motivate not only the Indian population but globally. When we say it's World Yoga Day, we strongly believe that every citizen of this planet has the right and also should have access to practice yoga. Thanks to YouTube, media, and other activities, today anyone could really go on to television or onto YouTube channels and practice yoga for half an hour to 45 minutes every day. And certainly, I'm one of the beneficiaries of this important activity. Also, I strongly believe that many a times, like in the gymnasium or also in activities which are done in open forums like jogging and walking, it's very difficult for an individual to do and committedly doing this activity day in, day out, every day. So I strongly suggest that we always do yoga in groups, that we every day we make a commitment that five of our friends or five of family members, we really go on the terrace and do yoga for half an hour, 45 minutes. That not only gives your physical mental fitness but also allows you to spend some time with your near and dear. That's how we see many times when you go to jogging places, it's not just one person jogging but four or five friends together will go together, while sharing their thought they keep doing a brisk walk and stuff like that. So certainly, if we can make it a collective activity and as a also societal activity along with our friends and relatives, I'm sure it is not too far before world accepts, which already accepted that yoga is one of the way of making good health. I only will stop before I want to share one experience. I spent some time in January, way back in 2000, and my PhD mentor, my postdoctoral mentor, has told me that those days, whenever he gets a headache because of office stress and all that, he used to do a little bit of pranayama and breathing exercises instead of taking a paracetamol or an aspirin tablet. That itself indicates that this has already reached many enlightened communities across the world. It is time that this yoga day will take it even to masses. Countries like Africa, Europe, where it is still not known. Thankfully, our Indian embassies are practicing yoga day today, inviting their international friends. And I believe that this day, which Honorable Prime Minister has given a call, that we all be part of this yoga day and continue to practice every day, at least for half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm sure the scientific lecture to be given by our speaker, Professor Vivek Sharma ji, on yogic lifestyle, the scientific tool. I'm sure the scientific tool, as he calls for conscious living, certainly will inspire and motivate the scientific fraternity and see that we all become part of this every day. I wish all of you a very happy Yoga Day. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your motivating and inspiring words.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to invite Dr. Vandana Singh ma'am, Scientist E, Vice Kiran Division, to introduce the esteemed speaker of today's lecture.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubham. Good morning, everyone. It is my proud privilege to introduce Professor Vivek Sharma, Dean Academics, Head Department of Physiology, AIIMS Rajkot. Dr. Sharma did MBBS from University College of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and MD in Physiology from Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. He has keen interest in yoga, and that is why he attained additional qualifications through MSc in Yoga Therapy, MD in Alternative Medicine, postgraduate diploma in health, fitness, and lifestyle management, and he is also a clinical acupuncturist. Dr. Sharma has teaching experience of 19 years and guided several PhD and MD students for thesis and MBBS students for STS projects. He is resource person or guest speaker in more than 100 international, national conferences, SMEs, and workshops. Dr. Sharma is national resource faculty for physiology subject on digital platform National Program on Technology Enhancing Learning, Swayam Prabha, National DTH channel, and team leader in Manav Atlas, Citizen Science Program, both being initiatives of Ministry of Education, Government of India. His core area of research are neurophysiology of mind body medicine, lifestyle disorder management. He has published more than 55 articles in high impact journal, Also, he is a reviewer and or sub-editor in many high-impact journals. He is member of various board of studies, professional bodies. Dr. Sharma is also certified yoga and heartfulness meditation trainer, soft skill trainer for faculty development program and medical students, currently involved in conducting sessions in various government institutes. He received Best National Teacher Award in Physiology from National Association of Basic and Applied Physiology, received Professor R.C. Shukla Oration Award for the Best Cardiovascular Research in Physiology from National Association of Physiologists and Pharmacologists of India, Gold Medal in Alternative Medicine and Health Excellence Award for contribution to integrative medicine. He was keynote speaker in BrainTap International Summit in North Carolina, USA. Dr. Sharma has completed many extramural funded research projects and also associated with DST's Satyam program. So now I would like to request Professor Sharma to deliver today's lecture. Uh, Professor Sharma.
Thank you, ma'am. My heartful greetings to each and every person who is over here, to the respected guests, to the respected secretary and all the dignitaries who are there. And I would like to make an effort because this is already an elite group where people are already knowing about yoga. So I will just try to give my perspective, how I feel that and whatever I have heard or whatever I have felt in my life while practicing, and as well as a scientist trying to looking into the delving into the component, starting from what exactly is yoga, how is it another form, it is not another form of exercise, how it is where the science is today when we talk about aham brahmasmi to aham sarvatram, the concepts which are the keen tenets of our yoga. I would like to take all those things and the research studies which make us feel that it is not only the some exercises, but it is actually a tool through a different lifestyle that can definitely help this society today. So please confirm if my slides are visible once I just do it out. If my slides are visible, kindly inform me. Is it fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll proceed from here. So yoga is a tool for consciousness and scientific living. We all know about it. So I'll just try to delve into it a little bit. Throughout my life, what my thing is that I know that we are looking into a world of evidence-based therapy, where we need an evidence for each and everything. But at the same time, ancient wisdom, which does not have any scientific evidence, but it is definitely a scientific life that we all were living for thousands of years in this part of the world, is my interest is that I want to see that how those practices can be made evidence-based and how they are relevant so that we can practice and integrate the ancient wisdom into today's evidence-based world. So we all are celebrating today this 8th International Day of Yoga, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and this effort by the Honorable Prime Minister and all the ministries which are working together has taken this thing all over the world, where people are practicing it in whatever which way they can try to do, they are trying to do it all over the world. So what is yoga? What is the main purpose of its origin? And why is it so that we are celebrating it today? So origin of yoga, nobody knows when it is said. Sometimes some people say that our civilization is more than 25,000 years old. Even it goes further back. But generally speaking, we say that it is at least 5,000 years or more than that. But was it meant so that we become a healthier human being? What was the main purpose? So if we try to delve into it, we know that yoga was basically developed as a moksha shastra or a salvation tool. And thereafter, its many branches came, and now it is being practiced everywhere, whatever the reason may be, even for a health tool itself. So when we talk about yoga, it usually means yoga is a huge Sanskrit word or join together. What is joining together? What exactly we are planning to do that? So the text says that there is mergence of Atma with Paramatma, or the self with the universal consciousness, or we can say that the lower self is moving towards the higher self. If we go there, we know that there are various types of the yoga texts that are available. To my understanding, if I try to put it in a single line, it shows something like this to me. Yoga says that, that there is something that is universal consciousness. I cannot go to every part of the universe. I don't know whether there is a multiverse or not, but I can try to look for its reflection inside. The more I try to master the reflection inside, and I try to become one with my own reflection that is there of the reflection of the whole universe, I start encompassing the feelings of whole universe. That means that the lower self is nothing but the inner reflection that I am trying to look into myself, and I'm trying to imbibe all those attributes that are there in the universe. And once I start mastering those, I become united with my own self. And that is how I go into the universal consciousness and my journey towards self-reflection starts. So it is the yoga has been a tool of moksha, enlightenment, and nirvana, that is a path to divine perfection. So the question comes is it for today's world only when we are having the Beijing wars, we are having economic strivings, we have so many issues coming up. What was the need for a person who was sitting in under the trees in a forest thousands of years back? He did not have any time problem. She did not have to manage the family and other things. But then, yes, there is an inner longing and belief in the human mind or human heart that was there thousands of years back. He knew that there is some inner potential that he can do it by mastering the inner self. And that is how the texts started coming. And the belief was that there is when the connection of the mind or the heart or the knowledge with the emotion starts coming while practicing some various practices, what we can do is that we can start mastering and we can have a better form of life. That is reason perhaps that eternal quest of life is there. It is nothing to do with today's only the time management issues that we are facing or the health management issues that we are facing. So what exactly if we talk about yoga from any perspective, whatever it is, we say is that turn within. All knowledge, all powers, everything is within. Your destiny is within, your future is within, and the ultimate is within. That is the message of yoga to the whole world. That we don't try to fight with others. We don't try to rule over others. We are trying to do the reflection that is there in the whole universe, that universe reflection we are trying to master inwards. And that is why today, when this peace, when the world is waging everywhere, yoga finds a way today, even in this world where everything is different, what was there thousands of years back. So if I take it technically, what are the yogic techniques? It involves mind-body technique involving the breath control, exercise, and meditation, which promotes the physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. Well, when we are talking in INIs or in other institutes as a medico, we are usually talking about physical, mental, and social at most. But even WHO recognizes a person cannot be healthy unless and until we take into the component of social, the spiritual well-being. There is something yearning in us that can be satisfied when we practice yoga as a lifestyle, where it takes into context all these components. So now the question comes, how is it relevant today? And how is it useful to the society today? What are its applications in the health and the diseased condition today? So the relevance in today's scenario is that, this is what the world is. The world is, we are multitasking all the time. There is too much of pressure. There are too many things, and let's accept it. The world is becoming more polluted, more populated. There are so many stresses, pressures that are coming up in the life. And we try to mitigate those things by working harder, by trying to strive to pitch upon the other people, trying to feel the competition. But if we go to the concert and through that, we want to have this peaceful life, the blissful life. And perhaps that is not possible. If I fight with others, others will fight with me. So that is why we say that when we are looking from a doctor's point of view, whole of the modern science, if we say it has developed through the reductionist view. We all have heard of this story of five blind men trying to look into the elephant and trying to describe various components of it. Similarly, that is what we are happening. If a person is having a cardiac disorder, he goes to a cardiologist. If a person has has a nervous disorder, goes to a neurologist or to a neurosurgeon, and go on and on. But in spite of whatever the world is today, we see that even in the developed world, more than 50% for the chronic illnesses, people are looking for the mind-body therapy applications. That itself speaks that there is something that is missing between this mind and the body, and that cannot be answered through the medications, through the surgeries, through the various approaches that we are having. And that is precisely the reductionist view. Yoga looks into the holistic view, Yoga says that every individual being has to be taken care of, and if the person, one single being is not happy, the whole component, the macrocosm cannot be happy. Then this is what is leading to all the new modern lifestyle challenges, that is coronary artery disease, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. These are all happening because there is huge amount of the stress that has developed in our system, and we do not have anything to address that. I think the got cut. Now, am I audible again?
Yes,
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 you are.
your voice is
Fine.
clear.
So modern lifestyle, all these challenges, our country does not have an answer to all these things. We cannot spend millions and billions and trillions of dollars just to take care of all these things. That is why yoga as a social tool is also very effective. So now comes the pandemic. Now pandemic has brought another situation. We don't say that pandemic was not there. The pandemic of non-communicable disorders is already going on. We are not recognizing it as a pandemic, that's all. Diabetes capital of the world is India. We have so many coronary artery disease patients, hypertension, obesity is already is moving to the adolescent age, and from there into even to the age group which is 2 to 10 years of age. So it is already a, but on only thing is that now it has an infectious pandemic has come. And again, further, it has brought so many wrong things in the world that we had never witnessed in our life. There is a social platform is full of negativities. There are always new things, but most of the things are negative only. We find that social media platforms are bringing more fear. We are sharing it with others. And this further aggravates our situation and leading to the immune suppression, stress, anxiety, hopelessness, uncertainty. And so today the world is filled with what? This all these things have brought so many wrong things we are not recognizing. We think that Russia is waging war with Ukraine. No, Russia is also a macrocosm part, and it is just a reflection of the stress that has built up in the world. And I'm sure that if we don't address this, that we are going to see that these burgeoning of the situations in other parts of the world as well. That we see that the economies are collapsing in our neighborhood. We find that unrest is traveling, is spreading. We find that the crises are spreading everywhere, and each and everything is connected. We all are connected together, and all these things are affecting us on daily basis. And that has led to so many wars, so many deaths, so many of the wrong things which we never expect. Unpredicted things are happening. We have witnessed in past 2 years or so. Every person is bundled up in pressure and trying to mitigate it through putting out on the social media platforms or speaking and living in the isolation. People are fearful of talking to even themselves what they are thinking about it. And this leads us to what? This leads us to a society that is full of stress, anxiety, negative thoughts, having the limbic system emotions which are always on the high. The steroids are high, and that leads to the immune suppression. And as a society, we feel that we are stuck up where we are. What is the progress that our society is making? There is decreased creativity, foggy thinking, both at the individual level and at the societal level. And this is where we find that the situation is. The genes of Indians are same as they were earlier. But what is it that now we are the house, the pandemic house of non-communicable disorders? What exactly changed? Our genes have not changed, although we are prone to many disorders, which perhaps the Western world is not there. Perhaps we have stopped, as Secretary Sir had told in the opening remarks, we have to live in the societies. We have to look for the mind-body connection. And perhaps this is what we are missing nowadays. Even if our genes are loaded, if our lifestyle is not bad, the pull will not be, the trigger will not be pulled. And perhaps we are triggering now our every sort of the negative thing into the things. And that is why we are having this non-communicable disorders over this infectious disorders. And this is affecting our whole society. This what we can do. We cannot change our genes. We cannot change the world around us. We cannot change the polluted world around us. But yes, we can look for the mind-body connection within, and that will resolve many of the issues that are happening. So healthy living today, it is of immense relevance because people have seen, people have witnessed that all these people who have practiced yoga over a period of time, that actually the byproduct of yoga That is precisely what we want. We want to see that we are healthy at the physical, mental, and spiritual level. And the scientific evidence is suggesting that people who practice yoga. So even the studies have shown, if like this was a very famous study by Davidson et al. What they found was when they looked for when they hooked up the yoga people, the yogis, the lamas, and they've tried to find out, are they really happy with what they are doing? What they found was, I'll be a little bit brief about it. What they found was when they truly look into their signals, they found that they had a very high level of the gamma synchronous. That means the signals from both parts of the brain were synchronous. They were working together. They were at peace with themselves. And when they tried to look into their components of the brain, they found that the left prefrontal cortex, left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the blood flow was very high, even though they may not have the physical possessions. But what they found was that they found that those areas which are called as the happy areas of the brain, the blood flow, when it increases over there, we feel relaxed, we feel happy, we feel stress-free, even though the world is there. Most of the lamas do not have their own country today. But in spite of that, when the scientists tried to look into it, what they found was that the total thought process of Shamta meditation as they practiced, they found that they had a higher level of the gamma synchronicity, a higher level of the left prefrontal cortex, and Davidson commented upon that, that in spite of doing the sessions for so many people, doing the scans on thousands of people, perhaps he has not witnessed such happier people in the life. That speaks volumes about what our thought can do. It speaks volumes about what yoga can do. And also they found that there was suppression of the default mode network activity. And I'll try to talk about that in my presentation today. They also found that even a single day of meditation is capable of reducing their pro-inflammatory genes. That means those genes that cause cancer, they cause stress, they cause so many diseases in us, and the anti-inflammatory genes can be there. So that is precisely what we wanted during COVID-19 situation as well. So yoga can answer both the infectious and as well as the non-infectious disorders. So yoga has been practiced now. They have found that yoga is a spiritual context. In the spiritual context, it can be practiced. But for the general international audience as well, it can be practiced as a very effective healing tool that they can be given, administered to the large societies without much of the economic burden. So yoga helps us to bring balance. It allows us to remain balanced when we are too happy, or it does not allow us to go into the troughs of the matter when there is negativity around us. And this balance is perhaps that's what we want in today's life. If I put it in a single word, it brings us to the life homeostasis. We talk about the body homeostasis. Yoga brings us to the life homeostasis. So we tried to do a study a few years back in which we took the heartfulness meditation practitioners who had been practicing, and we tried to look for the various inflammatory markers and try to look for all the autonomic functions and what happens to their brain. Our studies also told we tried to put them across all the gadgets, whatever we could. And we found that when we tried to go for all these things, our findings also told the same thing, that there was a decrease in the inflammation, there was an improvement, there was a decrease in their cortisol, representing that there was a decrease in the biological stress of the person. And if I try to put it, what their Eeg Coherence told was, if these are the various cross connections in the brain at the baseline, that means if these are the areas of the brains that are connected together when we are at rest, the more they are connected, the more there will be highways interconnections, and the lesser will be the traffic congestion, or we can talk about the thought congestion. We found that there was increase in the cross connectivity or the QEEG signals. There was an increase in those signals when the people were practicing meditation. But amazingly, this is precisely what we want. What Sir also told, paracetamol. I'll try to put it through the same thing only. Like a paracetamol has a residual effect, it does not has its effect only for 40 minutes. It lasts for 6 to 8 hours. When we try to look for their cross connections of the brain after 1 hour or so, we found that the meditative activity lead to the increase as compared to the baseline even after one hour or so. It clearly shows that all these meditative activities have a residual impact. When the person is having all these cross connections, it means the person is at peace, the person is happier, more relaxed, and will be in a position to take better decisions, and will be able to be stress free, and as well as try to take more stressful situations without getting succumbed into it by the practice of some sort of the yoga techniques. Then we try to look into the people who are already in a COVID-19 like situation all throughout their life. The military people, CRPF soldiers in Greater Noida, when we try to give them the practice sessions. In this, one of the techniques in these sessions, what we found was we try to hook up those people in front of their seniors only. We try to look for one trial and then we try to go for the systematic study. What we found was the persons who had not been exposed to all these things, there was an increase in the sympathovagal balance. Again, meaning the same thing that if this was the situation, after 10 minutes of relaxation meditation session, the people are, and whatever we were doing, we were trying to put it directly, the relay was there in front of all the soldiers. They were witnessing what was happening on the direct telecast was going on in front of them only on on the platform, whatever these the soldiers were given. So it was an eye opener for them also that even 10 minutes or 15 minutes of yoga practice can help us to cool down. They all had assembled for the for the combat training in the Greater Noida Center. So if this all the people know, but just to summarize that the main components of yoga include the cleansing techniques, Shatkarma, the asanas and postures, which are actually meant for increasing the mind-body coordination. Then we have pranayama, that is for the breathing regulation. Then we have the meditation, that is for the mind regulation. Rishi Patanjali codified all these principles and try to make it as a lifestyle where these are not only these practices are only a tool so that a person can go into samadhi vasta or into a into a place where the conscious living is there and the person's heart becomes so pure that he starts spreading love and peace everywhere. So the basic principles of yoga therapy now can be utilized even to correct the people who are having the basic principles that are being followed in the various hospitals are schedule rectification. I did not speak about it. We are exposed to the blue screens everywhere. Blue screen is extremely bad for our health. Umpteen number of the research are saying. So schedule rectification where the circadial disorders through this, it looks to into multiple circadial disorders, psychosomatic disorders, breathing rectification. Every being on this planet is breathing, but it is only the yoga codified thing which has given so much importance to it, how we breathe properly so that we can de-stress and try to maximize our brain potential and as well as also improve our metabolic activities. So breathing rectification, then this is something we all know. Diet rectification, mitahar, don't eat too less or too more and try to eat something that is acceptable to the body and to the mind. Then the yoga practices. So yoga practices are only a part of the yoga therapy. We need to look into the other component. As one of the recent articles has clearly told when published in US when they said that people should be exposed to the yoga literature. Unless and literature is not there only giving asanas and pranayams, perhaps it's going to give us the partial impact only. So various forms of the yoga practices are there that keeps the person healthy and their modifications can be given to treat the people and be given as the yoga therapy. So if I talk in context of how this yogic philosophy looks into the various disorders, it talks about not the physical body and the mental body. It talks about panch koshas. That means it starts from the annamaya kosh, the gross body, physical body, then pranamaya kosh, manomaya kosh, vigyanmaya kosh, and the anandmaya kosh. And says that although we are looking into the disorders only at the physical, at the mental level, its impressions, its samskaras are much deeper and we need to correct them. And all the practices are there to treat them at the deeper level. So when there is a disturbance in the manomaya kosh that disturbs the outer, that is the pranamaya kosh, looking into the physical body disorders, and that is what vyadhi is. That is the physical disease symptoms starts arising. And all the techniques that we are doing, so it is not only the treatment through the drugs only at the heart level, yoga looks into the deeper disorders and try to correct them. Similarly, if a person is having a psychological stress and disorder, it is because of the disturbance in the manomaya kosh, leading to a disturbance in Vigyanmaya kosh, leading to an ever situation that we don't know what is right and what is wrong. And this psychological stress leads to the chronic disorders. Now I'll come into the another aspect of my talk, that is Yogasanas. We all know that there are thousands and thousands of Yogasanas, but Rishi Patanjali has said also this thing, Sthiram Sukham Asanam. something that we can assume the pose for a comfortable period of time, that is Yogasanas. But if we try to see, are these another form of the exercise or is it something different? What is so different about yogic forms of the Yogasanas or the yogic forms of the exercises? Let's try to see that. When we assume any posture, it gives us, we assume the posture usually for 30 seconds to 1 minute maximum. It gives us the isometric contraction. It is not only, none of the postures, none of the Tai Chi, none of the karate techniques, none of those techniques or Kathak or Bharatnatyam, whenever we are practicing, they are practiced fast. Although when the person becomes proficient is that then we start when the mind coordination increases, the person is capable of doing them at a higher rate. So if you see, there is always an intention of relaxation. The mind is always going where the hand movement and this is there. The posture is assumed by the slow, gentle, and the graceful movement. The maximum stretch is for 10 seconds to 1 minute, maximum even in the highest level of the yogi trainers. And then every posture is assumed, and then there is a relaxation. So there is not much of the cardiovascular loading. Another component that we can see is every yogasana is scientific, where the body parts are aligned. But we also see that the attitude is important and every posture is assumed and then there is a counterpose into that with an intention of relaxation. Suppose we are going for any activity, a high impact activity like swimming, jogging, running, practicing at the marathon level also. Do we actually have any idea about where my breathing is going? Or I'm just looking into how many kilometers I have covered or how many laps I have covered? So when we are not having, when we are doing all this, it might increase my endurance capacity, but the mind-body coordination perhaps may not be there. It will definitely improve. But if I incorporate the yogic techniques into it, my practices will definitely improve my coordination of the body itself and will make me a better person. Another important thing is that we don't use any external object for the weight training. Our body is itself used and it is utilized for the weight training. So when we are doing it, we are exercising it in such a manner, in a scientific manner, that all the joints, capsules, all the body parts are stretched and relaxed. And there is an intention of looking into the isometric contraction of all the body, followed by the isotonic exercises. So we can give it to the patients. We can even give in the pranayama techniques can be given even to the bedridden patients, even to the heart failure patients. Yoga therapy has been found that it is even the people who are in ICU, we can give them the pranayama techniques also, the slow pranayama techniques, and it helps them. So asanas, when we see all these asanas, we all know about their various parts of the asanas. They are all having some sort of the geometrical picture, and every posture is followed in a systematic manner. When that is how Rishi Patanjali has codified all these asanas. All the poses, the pose is followed by a counter pose, and there is always an intention of relaxation. And perhaps this is why we find that all the ancient wisdom techniques, whether it is yoga, whether it is Tai Chi or karate or whatever the Bharatnatyam or other, whatever I told of in the musical notes that we develop out here in this part of the world, they can also be considered as a part of the yogic techniques. They have risen out of these types of the thoughts or the philosophies. So coming to the second component, breath. We all are breathing, even a cockroach breathes, even an ant breathes, or an elephant breathes. But then it is the yogic tech, our seers have seen that when we try to manipulate that breath in such a manner that it tries to further deepen the relation between the mind and the body or the brain and the heart, that we start living at to the higher, we delve into the deeper consciousness. As one person says, if I can't breathe, nothing else matters in this world. So breath is the bridge which connects life to the consciousness. Grouped into two components. Either they are the fast practices or the slow practices. When we try to practice both the various types of the things, ultimately the studies have clearly shown that there is resetting of the autonomic nervous system. The vagus nerve is the link that connects all the breath components to my brain and vice versa. So that improves my sympathovagal balance, that improves my vagal tone. And whenever the vagal tone improves, I go into a state of complete relaxation, stress-free activities, increased neuroplasticity, and all the useful components start playing their role. Now coming to the next component, that is meditation. We think that meditation is something that is a very difficult activity, but unknowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, we also keep thinking. Only thing is, in meditation, we make it as an act where we are using it as a tool to increase our conscious living. So nobody knows how many thoughts we think in a day, but usual estimate is 50 to 60,000 thoughts per day. But amazingly importantly, most of the thoughts are repetitive in nature, and even when a person has come in front of me, I have already made up my mind what that person is. And most of the thoughts that I get gathered from the society, they are of negative connotation. Meditation says a human being is different from the rest of the jivas is because of one thing, that the person can go into the future, can come back into the time, and can hold consciously one thought in the time. A lion cannot plan for its prey what he is going to eat after 1 year or so. Perhaps that is how we think about lion. But a human being can plan how he can think about it. And so he can hold the consciousness for a period of time. And if he gives the emotional component to it, then he can do it. Now, somebody was asking in one class to me only, sir, it is not possible to control the thoughts. I said, yes, it is not possible to control the thoughts. If we try to do it, it is also hinsa, because we are trying to control something which is very difficult. Nobody likes to be controlled. Even our thoughts would not like to be. But we can control our bhava. For example, if I start practicing, I want to be a happier throughout the time. Suppose when I'm happy throughout the time, what happens? All the thoughts, even though the world is same, everything looks sweeter to us. Everything looks good to us. We are in a state of helping others and counseling others also. If I am irritated, if my mood is down, if I am depressed, if I am sad, even if the best of the things are happening to me, I cannot do that. So if we start controlling our bhav, it is going to control us, our thoughts in an indirect way, that we are those only thoughts will emanate to us within us, which are of positive connotation, which can help us in the life. So if meditation is try to be still in the present moment, and the more, now let us see any part of our life. Let us all who are present over here try to think about any part of the life where we consider that we were happy, where we were relaxed. Think for a moment, and what do we find? That when we were relaxed at that moment, we were not thinking about our future. We were not thinking about our past. So meditation is the art of arriving at stillness now, and we can start assuming it. So scientifically, is it really good? Is it really, is there any evidence to that? Can imagination really transform us when the input is from inside, not from outside, like in the Yogasanas and pranayamas? To see that, very important research was done by Dr. Pascal Leon in Harvard Medical School. What he did was, he made two groups of the medical students, and he said, okay, let's see, from Monday to Friday, they will all practice piano. None of them were piano players. He says, let's say group A, they will sit in front of piano from Monday to Friday, and they will practice from Sare Gama Pada Nisa for a day only. Only with a single hand only, they will press the keys Sare Gama Pada Nisa for 2 hours. Nothing big about that. But the group B will sit in another room in front of the piano. They will not touch the piano keys, but they will play those piano keys in their mind only, Sare Gama Pada Nisa. And then they say that, okay, Monday to Friday, next Monday, we will do their TMS, transmagnetic stimulation. Let's see how it occurs. And his premise of the theory of this thing was that the mind does not actually see the difference between the actual actions, movements, or the imagined actions. Only thing is, when we do something, we feel that it is more real. So when he tried to look into this physical practice group with a mental practice group, what he found was, amazingly, the mental practice group, the group B, which practiced only those notes in the mind only, they found that the brain changes, the neuroplastic changes were nearly 80 to 90% of the physical practice group. So it clearly shows that our thoughts are something that can change our physical structure of the brain itself. It can change our emotions. It can change the way we are thinking. So meditative practices have been associated with a lot of positive health. They are found that we can be better when we practice it with the yoga and the pranayama technique. All these things are synergistic practices. They will help us to regulate more and more our mind. They will help us to be more and more goal oriented. And we try to look that goal which is lesser and lesser selfish and something that is helping the whole of the society. So if these are our cluttered thoughts, 50 to 60,000 thoughts, when we start practicing, what we see that these thoughts become more organized. we can access each of the thought, whatever we, whenever we want. The efficiency is improved that I can put any more number of the thoughts in the same brain where we are having it. And this looks so clean. This itself gives so much peace and relief as compared to the left photo. So this is what our meditation or any of the yogic techniques can try to bring in us. And we are having evidence also for that. Now let's come to the next part and perhaps the last part where I will try to look for it. What is the psychophysiological framework of all these mind-body therapies, various pranayama, and the yogasanas, and the meditative techniques. So I'm made up of more than 100 trillion cells. I don't know when I say I'm happy, which part of my, is it my brain which is happy or heart or my leg or my blood vessel is happy. But we know that when we are happy, when we are stressed, if I say I am not happy, all these 100 trillion cells suffer. That means the oxidative stress reaches to each and every cell of the body. All the cells have chromosomes, and all the chromosomes at their ends have these tags like these plastic tags at the ends of the shoelace. If we know that if these tags become frayed, it is time to replace them. Similarly, when the stress builds up in all these 100 trillion cells, the time has come that the cells will be replaced by these telomeres. So these telomeres, the more the regression, we find that the time of regression occurs, and that is why we are having more of the non-communicable disorders and all this. If the stress is there, we find that these disorders, which are related to hypertension, obesity, even to the physical inactivity and chronic infections, we find in all of these conditions, these telomeres are lesser and the persons are more prone to the disorders. And what studies are showing? Studies show that all these mind-body practices are capable of not only changing the genes, but what they do is they work through the epigenetic phenomena. That means the gene switch occurs. It is always the bhav that allows us which gene is going to be activated. And so the action is not only at the brain or at the heart, there are top down or the bottom of multiple neuraxis levels. That means from the brain to the rest of the body and from the rest of the brain to the body. And the studies are showing when we meditate, we can regulate our genes by causing changes in our telomeres. The studies are showing that even the telomere lengthening can occur by the healthy lifestyle changes. And we also find that when these telomeres increase, that we can find that the oxidative stress is reduced and the person is happier and a person who is capable of efficiently delivering the works everywhere. So the substrates of mind-body interaction, I'll take only one component today because of the lack of the time, that is the default mode network. That the changes occur at the executive homeostatic network, that means at the brain level, where the neuroplastic changes occurs. And the default mode network, I'll talk about it. And ultimately, it reflects onto the telomeres that is present in each and every cell of the body. And the link through all of them is the vagus nerve or the 10th nerve. There is higher vagus nerve activity or the sympathovagal balance improves parasympathetic dominance. That is the link through which all these cells are interconnected. So when we are practicing any form of the yogasanas, what happens? The sensations go from the periphery via the vagus nerve and the other somatic nerves. It travels to the brain from the bottom up approaches because it is a slow, relaxed mind-body coordination activity that improves. And ultimately, it causes increase in the neuroplastic changes from there to the brain and from above downwards. And similarly for the pranayama activity. And if this is my activity of the brain all the time, what happens when there is an intention of relaxation, whether through the pranayama, whether through asanas, or actually when I am sitting in a posture, relaxed posture, sthiram sukham asanam, what happens is that there is increased reorganization of the neural representations in the sinus. The synchronized flow from the brain to the rest of the body to all the various components, the subcortical structures, that includes my hypothalamo pituitary adrenal axis to all the cortisols and all the various neuroendocrine hormones, they all are released in a correct manner. So when this starts happening, what happens? There is also a decrease in the default mode network activity. I take a few minutes to explain to it. It's interesting. These are the studies that have happened in past few years or so, 5 to 10 years maximum. So what is this default mode network activity? Without going into further medical words into it, there are 21 substructures, or we can say mainly 11 subcortical structures, not at the brain, but not at the cortex, but at the subcortical level. They all work together, and this is what they keep doing throughout the time. Even though when we are sitting together here on an online platform, mind may be connected to the mobile, maybe thinking about planning, chit-chatting, thinking about past, present, future. What is it due to? Due to this default mode network activity. When it is under stress, what happens? It becomes more active. So when we are sitting, we keep questioning. We don't know why we are questioning. We keep questioning ourselves. We keep daydreaming, although we want to be in the present moment, stillness. The mind keeps wandering all the time, and we are introspecting all the time. Not only that, because if the activity is more, what happens? The self-criticism happens. The self-criticism is so much so that we start questioning ourselves, and we are always living into the anxiety and fear. So this can be considered as not exactly, medical system still does not know what is I or ego, but it says that it can be likened to one of the components of मैं or core or I, and this is what gives me the presence of of my own self, the smaller self. Another component that this activity gives me is time travel. That means I can think about my past, present, and future. But not so good thing is, even if I want to be in the present moment, I'm thinking about my past also. I'm thinking about my future also. This is me and this is you. That means I can differentiate between myself and the rest of the world also. So I can get into the mind of the people. I am always thinking about all the time, chit-chatting to myself and to the others, wandering all the time. But when this activity becomes too much, the mind keeps splitting from the past to the future. And this unrest is bringing so much of the catastrophic changes in me all the times. Not only that, if I'm thinking, I just gave a present hypothetical situation, imagine that this whole world is peaceful after 100 years. Every person is at peace. There is complete shanti. Every person is doing their work. Even though what happens, I am there to witness that fruits of my thinking even after 100 years. That is because of this inner eye or this default mode network activity. So there is always I, me, mind that is there. And for others, I think less, whether it is good or to the bad. So now it gives me two components. To put it scientifically, it gives me a component of this is me and these are the rest of the people. Second is this is the present time. Then so if there is a present time, there is a past and the future, the sense of time. What yogis have been talking when we start practicing any form of these yogasanas and ultimately all these 8 codified parts, when we do it and we reach to the through dhyan, we reach into samadhi, the person says aham brahmasmi, aham sarvatram. मैं ही ब्रह्म का हूँ, मैं ही ब्रह्म हूँ और मैं ही सब जगह हूँ. So perhaps the science try to look into it through one of these components is this default mode network activity, which is too much, which is bringing that I criticize myself, I question others, I try to look for all these things. So when we start practicing, what happens? We start feeling that when this activity calms down, when the meditative activities and all this intention of relaxation calms down, what happens? There is no past, present, future, and there is not me and others. So what is there? There is only now. That means there is when there is no past, there is no future, there is only now. So the person is feeling absolutely relaxed and is there in the present moment. Second component, what he says is aham sarvatram. I am everywhere, because he now identifies his smaller I with the bigger I, that is the whole of the world. The super consciousness we say, or the universal consciousness we say, the universal love we talk about it. So as we start practicing more and more, whatever I talked about at the telomere level, at the cellular level, and the calming down of the default mode network activity, what we find that we are capable in this blah blah of the world, which will never change. It has never changed. There was perhaps no Ram Rajya even in the time of Ram. There were so many things were happening at that time, even the Krishna time, even today we are having, perhaps in future also. But yoga says whatever is happening around us, yogic practices can help us to build a sort of cocoon around us, and we can be connected with ourselves and try to bring some sort of calmness to this whole world by bringing calmness inside. So what the studies have told. Studies told, if I say that these are the components of default mode network activity, whenever I think about anything else, what they have found that when the meditators are thinking good about someone, and these are the controls, what do we see? I can say this is selfing. Like means I think about myself whenever I do any activity, whether good, bad, whatever it is. What they have clearly found is when the controls are working, this selfing is more. When the meditators are working, the selfing is decreased. That means they can think about the others without thinking about ourselves. This is precisely what we want from a politician, from a soldier, from a doctor, and from every citizen of this world when we are trying to discharge our duties for the welfare of others. So we have some mechanisms, and these can be activated through the yogic practices. So what in nutshell I have talked today, I've said that yes, it is another form of the exercise, but yogasanas, their mechanisms are slightly different. They don't increase the sympathetic, but they increase the parasympathetic activity. They cause changes, structural changes in the brain. They cause positive changes in our thinking process, causes increase in the growth factors like BDNF, where the neuroplastic changes, the cross connections in the brain occur. Through the epigenetic mechanisms, we find that the good genes are activated more and more. That calms down our hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis, calms down our catecholamines, increases the coherent brain activity. We become more relaxed, self-absorbed. The mind is creative. The heart becomes warm because our mind is connected with the heart, and we have a higher immunity. So these occur at multiple neuraxis levels, and that brings not only the cardiovascular, the whole health of the person, and at the microcosm and at the macrocosm, the whole of the health of the universe improves. Today, with the help of DST Satyam, I'm very thankful to DST Satyam that they gave me the opportunity. I'm about to submit this in next few days, the results of it. We try to look for the parameters, biochemical parameters, and as well as the heart rate variability and the psychological profile of the nurses. And we have given this 8 months. One was the CYP, and the other one was the Anulom Vilom Pranayam, because we need to look for some other meditative and the other techniques also, which people can do at home, and they need not be trained too much. So we need to look for various forms of the interventions where the people, we don't know when any of these type of the situations may occur in future also. So we need to experiment with the various forms of the techniques that we are having. So the yoga protocol, the standardized yoga protocol for health professionals that we have given. And these are the nurses, more than 200 nurses or so. They have practiced. We have 15 to 3 groups. And the results are quite good about it. And I'm very thankful to DST Satyam for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. So in nutshell, let peace be the next pandemic. Let yoga play its own beautiful part in bringing the consciousness at the higher level. And the studies are clearly showing that the mental practice has physical consequences. It can be practiced during the healthy state and also as an adjunct with other medications to reduce the stress levels in the persons to address various disorders of autoimmune or to the stress disorders. It is not our nature, but also the nurturing that is important. That is what yoga is telling us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sharma, for a very informative and enlightening lecture. It presented a very different perspective to how yoga deeply affects our inner self and our brain. I also hope that this lecture was a very thought-provoking one for our audience also. I would now like to invite you all for the Q&A session with a speaker. For any of your questions, you are please requested to raise your hand electronically. I'll call on, then you can unmute yourself and ask a question to the speaker. Dr. Hina Kausar, please ask your question, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Just I want to know the gamma coherence. Can you elaborate the gamma coherence with the yogic practice?
Yes.
That you have given in your presentation, sir?
Well, we can look into, I'll try to be a little bit brief. What we actually want is when we want to drive from one place to the other place, what do we want? We want that there should be many highways, but then those highways should be interconnected. Our brain is already having billions and billions of neural connections. But what happens is we do not have those connections so our brain is having various frequencies at which it goes. What happens is that it is not important. We talk about the alpha activity, which is good. The activity when right now we are in our brains is happening is beta activity. That is with the conscious, with the eyes open, we want our brain to be active. But at the same time, when we close our eyes in a relaxed awareness, what happens? This activity reduces, it goes to the alpha level. And then further to theta and delta, where we say that there is samadhi avastha, and the theta means where we are having various restorative forces are generated in us. Gamma coherence talks about a higher activity where all these areas of the brain, whichever the brain areas, the frequencies are there, they all are sort of resonance is there. All of those activities are there at the same frequencies. So when it happens, we usually feel that our mind is absolutely relaxed. As imagine Sachin Tendulkar or any of the tennis players, they may not be doing practice, but what do say? We say that they have some extra millionth of a second. What is happening is the coherence of their brain activity at that time is so much so that everything gets blurred out of that. They are totally absorbed in, and they can see from 22 yards what the ball is. They can see what is happening around us. Similarly, at our consciousness level, what is happening around us when our activity is at gamma, so much of billions of data of the information that is going from inside the body and the outside of the body, we can interpret it in a better way and we can become more relaxed. So gamma coherence is something, gamma oscillations are there that we can try to find out through the quantitative EEG analysis. So when we are doing for that, when we are looking for EEG, I will suggest that we start going for the quantitative EEG analysis also, which will tell it is not necessary that whole of the brain is going to be at alpha or beta or theta, but coherence very important. My left brain and the right brain should work together to do that. I'll try to share a few things if possible later on also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else who would like to? Yeah, Jay Moore. Please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go on.
Sir, thank you very much firstly for your wonderful presentation. We have learned a lot today. Sir, I just have a very naive question. Like you were trying to make a connection between neurology with, for us, it's more like therapy. I mean, yoga is more like a therapy, like you showed about the soldiers and all. So I just wanted to know if there are any yoga or therapy for people who are suffering from Parkinson, because a lot of research is going on, but is there any way to, because it's a neurological disorder kind of. So I just wanted to know if you have any suggestions or directions you can guide regarding therapy for Parkinson patients.
Thank you. Let's not talk about Parkinson. Let's say any neurodegenerative disorder, Parkinson, senile dementia, all these things. If we try to put it from the yogic context or from the medical therapeutic context, these are all neurodegenerative disorders. And there can be multiple causes for any disorder. And we don't know, like when we give a disease, when we give any medication or treatment, it is always customized. But in general practice, what we can see is that if we look for the breathing technique, because a person, Parkinson's patient, may not be able to do many of the asanas, but if we customize what is the sort of the level of the disorder that the person is having, we try to customize. The only difference between a therapy and a yogic practice is that therapy is something that we have an ability to modify to an extent that it is only going to give us the positive result. And the same time, we start giving more and more of the pranayama techniques to them. For example, we can look for we can start with the anulom vilom pranayama. We can go for multiple Surya Bhedi, because these are called as Shitla pan hona body ke andar, many of these neurodegenerative disorders. So we can start going for the Surya Bhedi pranayama activities after this Anulom Vilom pranayama. Like that, we can incorporate the lifestyle changes, we can have it. And also the meditation we are taking as a society, unless and until I'm sorry to use the words, but unless and until the Western world does not say that these things are good, we don't accept it. We are not accepting meditation as one of the treatment modalities for any of the disorders. The Western world has to tell us that meditation is good. when they say mindfulness meditation and they publish a lot of research paper, and then we start accepting, yes, it is so. A Parkinson patient can also meditate. And believe me, the studies are showing that when a person goes for meditative techniques also, I don't say that the drugs will not be there. The cause can be many. We can devise out the experts are already over here. Satyam is doing a great job. They can devise out various customized sort of MDNIY has also put up for the neurodegenerative disorders. If you go to their website also, you will find that they have given a protocol itself. So we can try to look for those protocols. But in nutshell, what we can look for is various meditative techniques along with something that activates our nervous system. It will automatically, our body has a lot of capacity. A person gets into the diabetes when 80% of the pancreas is not functional. That means still 70, we don't know. So when we are doing all these activities, we can devise something customized, talking from an expert, and try to see that we take more of the pranayama techniques, a few of the meditative techniques, and few of the asanas which a patient can do. It will definitely help the person to play the role as an adjunct, if not cure the person. But as a rehab measure, definitely yoga techniques will play their role.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Murugesh Trivedi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, for sharing us the research work that you have conducted. Sir, I would like to ask on epigenetics. Sir, I would specifically like to know that what is the timeline for sample collection? Like epigenetics, as we all know, they are the thought-provoking changes on the gene. So is it permanent, like immediately after performing meditation or yoga, it is good to collect the blood sample, or do we have to some maintain gap to actual know the condition of impact of yoga on epigenetics?
Sir, I will advise, again, these are some tricky questions which nobody knows the answer, when exactly the gene switch starts happening. If I talk from the yogic point of view, or if I talk from the work done by the scientists, they say every thought is capable of changing our neural structures. The capacity comes is, are we able to zoom into it and try to have a screenshot of that? That is precisely what we're trying to ask. So I will suggest that when we go for any of these activities, especially in the beginning for gene switch and for anything, I will say that at least 6 to 8 weeks minimum we should do something so that we are having something. Most of the studies, for example, the Nobel Prize winner, when it was given in 2009 for this telomere itself, they started looking for the lifestyle related changes. I think they did their practice for 10 weeks to 12 weeks. They gave a yoga related activity. They consulted India, I think Apple et al. And when they found that the gene switch was there, and they found that the telomere lengthening was there. I will suggest, at least to the people who are taking a PhD topic or who are going for it, try to go for 12 weeks if it is feasible, minimum. Because the longer we go, the more it becomes evidence-based. If we try to go for a smaller duration screenshots, it is more difficult. We need multiple number of the genes to be found out, which perhaps is going to be very, very difficult for us to do. Another thing is, and the last thing is for the patients. If I'm looking for a diabetic patient, the diabetic patient has not turned diabetic in a day. He has might be that they were pre-diabetic stage for years, maybe decades or so. If we really want to do for that, we should at least again wait for 8 to 12 weeks or so. So if we do it, we will be definitely be able to look for the epigenetic changes. It is not only the telomeres now. I'm not a geneticist, but we have multiple genes which we can study and we can try to find out that which one genes are there. But yes, the telomerase levels we can do telomere levels. Let's wait for 8 to 12 weeks, at least for the PhD topics if we are looking for it. And then if we are having the capability, we can talk further to geneticists and try to see that we can do for even the immediate thing also. But sir, I would like to add upon that. Even biochemical parameters are just one corroborative evidence. If we go for the neurophysiological evidence, we can even try to go for 1 microsecond thought process itself. like we are having the brain signals, we are having the MRI signals. So when we do it now, your last question was whether these are permanent or not. The permanency is something, the neuroplastic changes are something, it is just like an exercise, if I put it in that way. If we do practice for a small period of time, and if my lifestyle is again the same, my old habits will take place and my new roots, whichever I have created, they will be going useless. So although there might be a residual small change that might occur, but I will definitely be not be able. That is why yoga is considered, if Rishi Patanjali, if you go to his text, everywhere he says lifestyle. He never says that you meditate for 1 hour and you become a yogi guru. He always says that you take this lifestyle measures throughout the life. Even a person who has attained samadhi or who has gone to the highest level, he cautions, he says he is capable of faltering and going to the pashu level. So it simply says that our basic tendencies are so strong that they can be activated. So the changes will be definitely perceptible. But if we talk from yogic perspective, we say to the people, no, you will have to practice it for rest of the life only, then only you will get the benefit. So that people, they remain attached. They don't say कि हो गया मेरा पैरासिटामोल का हो गया, 5 दिन का एजिथ्रोमाइसिन का कोर्स हो गया, अब मुझे कोविड नहीं होगा. और हमें पता है कुछ किसी को फायदा नहीं हुआ उससे.
So it should be a lifestyle, sir. Thank you very much for enlightening us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we would take last question for today. Dr. Rukmani Nair.
Yeah. So I am very thankful for the wonderful speech given by Dr. Sir, and thank you to DST also for giving us such a wonderful opportunity on this day of International Yoga Day. And I'm the medical superintendent, Bapane Secure Hospital Classroom. We are treating many chronic diseases through yoga and naturopathy. So today, from the speech of Dr. Sahib, it is learned that yoga could bring a lot of changes in the neurological as well as chromosome levels also. So I just wanted to know, Dr. Sahib, that is what are the, useful asanas, which one we can introduce to the patients of this chronic, patients who are having this insulin dependent and who are already undergoing dialysis. So some of the practices can be useful to them, and your suggestions, please.
Ma'am, your voice was breaking. If I have understood the question correctly, you are asking the cardiovascular patients and the dialysis patients. Is it correct? Yeah.
Yes, for the dialysis patients, what are the useful forms of yoga?
See, I will say that let's start when I'm starting. I always start from pranayama practice because I want to see how much the patient is capable of taking up the things. A person may not be able to do the yogasanas. I will not go. We will give only the lagu asanas, not go for any of the major asanas. I will see, and we will go for the cardiovascular loading. We'll get the basic tests done. How much is the failure and all that. We'll start mainly with the Anulom Vilom Pranayam first, because it is considered as one of the balancing pranayama asanas. So then we start with a session of 3 to 5 minutes. We give it to them, and slowly we say on 2 to 3 days later that you start doing any of those things. We don't go for any of the fast breathing pranayamas at all. No fast breathing pranayamas, no kapalbhati, nothing like that. Although people say that it improves this, but the person is so much emaciated. The person is not only coming with the kidney disorders. The person it may be there as an aggravation of many other things. So we start with those pranayama techniques, go with a few of the basic techniques. I will reinstate the same thing. We don't involve meditative techniques as a part of the treatment. And these can be like, very simple thing is that a simple thought process is there. I am getting absorbed in the divinity and it is healing me. And we just ask the person to sit with the eyes closed. And we sit over there for 2 to 5 minutes. When we say, now you keep thinking about it. What happens is the attitude of the person changes. Whatever the drugs you give to the patient will definitely never improve unless and until the patient feels that I can get better. For that, we need to retune the person. Coming to the physical asanas, we usually we start from the lying down asanas like Vajrasana, where the person can simply sit out. There is a stretch onto the abdomen, and we go for the two standing, two sitting, two lying. That is precisely what we try to do. Incorporate the Shavasanas at the last. It all depends on the person. If a person is obese or the person is non-obese, male, female, whatever what is the physical structure of the person. Considering this, is there any cardiovascular? If the nephrotic disorder is there, mostly the cardiovascular overloading is also there. So we take into consideration that, and we start with the simple asanas, like we can start with the Vrikshasana and all that. It is just to tune the person. And when we get to know that these are there, we will give only two specific asanas, not for than 2 minutes. And we divide, no, we never ask the person to go for longer period or duration of the asanas. But we say, yes, you do it 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute in the noon time, and 1 minute in the evening. Patient's compliance is always better because he is more tuned to the drugs. So you say 1 minute morning, evening, rather than say 5 minutes, 10 minutes of practice twice or thrice. So like that, we can do it. Perhaps I'll also look into the clear-cut nephrotic asanas that we can do more in the younger population and older population. I don't have idea right now which exactly we can do it out. But yes, any of those things. We can have two lying down, two prone, two sitting, two standing. And this is precisely for any disease, whatever the person is having. Only thing is that asana will change. But we will give them for not more than 1 to 2 minutes. We will give them more in a structured manner and in a scattered manner rather than giving longer asanas at one time in a day or 2 times in a day. But we please do practice. Please do give more importance to the meditative techniques. It makes a lot of difference if I sit over here and say that I am getting filled with divinity and I am getting one with it and I am absorbing the energy throughout the time. And this simple thinking process can make a person accept the disease first and then the cure later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Nisha, ma'am, would you like to say something?
Yeah. So first of all, it was really wonderful session encompassing many things which we were not knowing. In fact, in one platform, we have given us such a thorough, comprehensive outlook of our style, living style, and many other things, Dr. Vivek. But I have only one thing. But we have crossed the time limit. I must tell that. We planned it only for 1 hour, but all the audience is captive. You made everyone so captive, and such interesting things you have told to all of us, and I feel all of us are going to adopt certain things. I have only one thing from you, Dr. Vivek, that in one of your talk, in the talk, one thing you mentioned was that around 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day.
Yes, ma'am.
A person receives. So my question is with regard to that, because so many thoughts and one small brain. How to accommodate that, how to rationalize that, so that it is not disturbing and it is not leading to any kind of imbalance with regard to our nervous system. Because I feel, and we observe also, many thoughts when we are awake, when we are working, no doubt at times we are doing multitasking and many thoughts we are able to manage during daytime. But during night hours, when everything is peaceful, but mind is not peaceful, all those thoughts are getting combined together and it takes different shape. So how to balance it out? How to control these thoughts? And really, are there 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day? It's too surprising for me. I just want a little bit on that, and maybe a special session on this thought process, brain functioning, and how to maintain a healthy brain, and how to manage to accommodate these thoughts in a balanced manner. So maybe we'll request you later on to give us an elaborated talk on that. But I would like to know briefly on this point.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a beautiful question. This is a question not of you, it is a question of our whole humanity. We don't know why we are so powerful. We are as human beings, the God has given us so much of power, so much of things. But are we knowing about it? Are we actually using our thoughts? Are we actually capable of doing it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows how many thoughts I think or you think or anyone. These are the rough estimates like Dr. Deepak, many others they have put up in their theories and they have told about it at 50 to 60. But it is when I'm okay. If I am disturbed, the number of thoughts may be much more. It might be it is nearly 1 second, one thought per second. That is nearly to that we are thinking. One thought per second. Even though we are talking right now, our thought process is thinking multiple things. So yes, the studies are saying that it is 50 to 60,000 thoughts in a normal process. It goes beyond that when I'm disturbed. So how to control that? As I told over here that this is a humanity question, beautiful question. Humanity has to think about it. Are we really, first of all, we have to be, everything starts from Jad, say Chetana ki or. So what do we say is at least first be conscious that yes, these many thoughts I am having. Second thing is one thought per second. Now how to control it? We need not control it in a day. That is why I say that we start going for the systematic practice. 4 components only yoga talks about. Schedule rectification. Are we really, we get up in the morning without saying naman to God, we say naman to our mobile. Mobile wakes us up. Stop taking the help of the alarms in getting up. Don't use alarms. Have faith in your own abilities that God will make you wake up tomorrow morning when you want to be. Start a day in the relaxation. What people say, the most important, impactful days for our emotions are the first 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and perhaps 5 to 10 minutes in the evening. If we start utilizing those 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and 10 to 15 minutes in the evening, we will have more mastery over the rest of the day, because this is the time where we are most in control of ourselves. So what do? We start going for the first is the schedule rectification. Then we start going for the basic pranayama practices and the meditative practices. Like I will say that I never knew the importance of that. When I was a medical student, somebody introduced me. So this question was there, that can I control the thoughts? I cannot. 50, 60,000 thoughts. You give a shape to the river. The river will keep meandering. River will never flow straight. You give it, if you ask the river to flow straight, it will stop flowing. The river will always meander on its path. So what we say, we give a shape to the flow by giving shape to our bhavas. If I can control the first 10 to 15 minutes of my morning and the last thing in the evening, in a surrender state, I start meditating, where I am saying, where I'm practicing to control my bhava. That means I am relaxed, I am happy, I am one with myself. I'm sitting and I'm going to have the best day of my life today. Believe me, this is something when we do it on a daily basis, it is going to give a huge control. Every day I will be aware whenever I am, every person who is disturbing me in whatever the good or the bad way, I will be aware that, this is what I had promised to me in the morning. You will be able to discern between two thoughts. What happens is, it is not important that 50 to 60,000 thoughts are there. Sorry, I'm just digressing a bit. The important thing is that all those thoughts are cluttered and cling together. They are something jumbled up like this. When we become aware, what simply happens is there is a pause between one thought and the second thought. When we start witnessing ourselves 10 to 15 minutes every day with a feeling of relaxation and surrender, what happens? We start feeling that one pause is relaxed and the other pause starts. In between that, we can start finding the pause. And that gives us more discretion, more wisdom. That makes us even to be in control even when I'm in the night, when I'm even sleeping, or I'm in a semi-sleep state also. Even in subconsciousness, I can have a control over that. So these are not supernatural things. Every human being, a yogi or what, you and me are suffering from the same things, and we need to adopt the same things only. So my answer is control the first 10 to 15 minutes morning and the last thing in the night. Don't give it to anyone else, even to your husband, to your wife, or to your kids or anyone. Be one with yourself in those 10 to 15 minutes. Don't plan there. Don't do anything and just be relaxed. And that thing in the morning, once we start doing that, we find that there is a pause start coming in. Those we can start witnessing and we will start giving the flow of thought. We can start, giving the flow to those thoughts. And those 50 to 60,000 will keep flowing, but they will be for us, not against us. They will go to the ocean. They will not go into the cities.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful tip. We will try to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can we take a last quick question? with your permission.
Sure.
Dr. Rupashri, ma'am.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. This is really a very nice talk and very informative also. I have a very fundamental question. That is what is the basic difference between yoga and meditation? Is there any connection between both?
It's again a very good question. Yoga and meditation, we usually talk about it, but there is nothing like yoga and meditation as far as I understand. As I also try to talk it during my talk, yoga is a lifestyle which has various components. And one of the components is physical activities. And those physical activities are asanas and pranayamas. There is meditation is also a conscious effort of making the meditative exercise activity only. That means meditation is a part of yoga. We are thinking all the time. We are continuously thinking. Only thing is when we are doing meditative activity, we are using our mental consciousness to be guided in such a manner that we remain guided even though when we are not in the we are not doing any sort of the isolated activity. We are doing mundane activities of the life. So meditation is a small component of yoga, which makes me into an efficient lifestyle that we say as the yogic lifestyle. Yoga is connecting with ourselves. Whatever the word I may try to do, the Sanskrit word is the best word, yoj. There is nothing beyond that. If I am looking for yoga, I'm just saying that I want to be connected with myself. Whatever can make it happen, even if it is a picture or whether it is playing with my family members or being alone with myself, anything that helps me to be connected with myself, that is yoga. If I do it in a spiritual and in a divine manner, it becomes a spiritual practice. If I'm doing it for preparing for triathlon or a marathon, it becomes another sort of the practice. Meditation is one component which helped me to be more efficient at the mental level and will try to connect my neural structures with my physical as we talk about Panch Panch Kosh. Basically, when we say meditation, where we are talking, we are looking into the Vigyanmay and to the Anandamay Kosh only, right? So when we are working on the Manomay and the Vigyanmay Kosh, when we are looking into the physical activities, we are saying that our Sthul Sharir is also working, but ultimately with Sthul Sharir, my nervous system will also move. With that, my mind will also move. So all these things are interconnected. And
thank you very much, sir.
Yoga.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I invite Dr. Shama Avasthi to present the vote of thanks to a speaker, I would request all our audience to please turn on your videos so that we can have an electronic group photograph of the session. I request all of you to please switch on your videos.
I think platform is overloaded with Dr. Vivek's talk. We have many participants, so how it will be accommodated? All are coming, Shubham?
Ma'am, all may not come, but we will try to fit in as many as possible.
Multiple screens you can take, so I think you can have all.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm doing, sir. Yes.
Photo must be with a smile, I feel, as Dr. Vivek said.
True, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. I would like to now invite Dr. Shama Avasthi, Scientist C, Vice Current Division, to present the vote of thanks to our speaker. Ma'am. Ma'am, you're feebly audible. Please be louder.
Am I audible now? Is it better?
Yeah.
Is it better? So, International Day of Yoga. On behalf of organizing team, it's my my privilege to express my sincere thanks to Secretary DST for gracing the occasion of celebrating the International Day of Yoga 2022. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Vivek Sharma, the speaker of today's lecture on the topic of yogic yogic lifestyle conscious living. I express my sincere thanks to Mrs. Anju Bhalla, JS Admin, for joining us today, my all DST colleagues and all scientists, academicians from various institutions of DST, ICMR, CSIR, and other universities. I'm thankful to an IC team for helping and giving technical support for today's event. I'm thankful to our head of the division, Dr. Nisha Mediratta, Scientist G, for all her support and motivation. I'm also thankful to Dr. Vanna Singh, Sri Pawan Kumar, and Sri Shubham Goyal from our team to organize this event. We hope that we will be able to adopt yoga in our lifestyle and stay fit, as it is very well understood from your lecture today, sir, that yoga is the science and technology to know the essential nature of how this life is created and how it can be taken to its ultimate possibility. So with this, we will end today's session. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we end, I would like to also thank the organizers, Dr. Vanna Singh and Chama Vastiji, with whom I am in contact for submission. And really thankful to all the organizers and all the people who have been over here for such a long period of time. It's a pleasure and honor for me also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.